Hello YouTube and good day to you. We're at the San Diego International Airport this morning, or today, and we're going to be flying out to one of the nearby islands. I believe it is owned and operated by the Navy, but it's San Clemente Island. We'll use a VOR or a waypoint to get to it, and then we'll do a landing on runway 24. I will not be able to check with ATIS because the station for San Clemente begins with a 2. And I can't program that into a flight simulator. Yeah, I think the highest we can go for the radio is 136, and then it starts at 118, and it just keeps going back and forth. So I can't program any ATIS that begins with a 2, which many of them on SkyVector for Naval Air Force bases and things like that, they begin with 2. So the waypoint for San Clemente, let me see, it is 117.6. And we're not picking it up yet. So what we'll do is we'll do a heading to it. Our heading will be 273 degrees. And I will also program it in here, not to follow its track, but to just kind of get an idea. For distance, looks like the waypoint name is KNUC. I'm just looking at SkyVector for this information. Have it pulled up on another screen. So San Clemente. And distance measuring equipment sounds good. Well, yeah, for DME it is US Southwest, so we'll just click on that and accept. So now we have our bearing of 273 degrees, as I said we need to do. We also know that our distance is about 72.2 nautical miles away, so I'm anticipating that when we're within at least 50 miles, it will pick up on VOR1 for 117.6, and then we'll be able to use that for guidance in there. Until then, we're just going to fly a heading or bearing of 273 until we pick up the waypoint. We're using the Snack Air library this morning. Releasing the brakes for taxi. .273, so approximately right there. We also need to check magnetic north. So when we fly into this airport, we're flying into it at a bearing of 270 for KSAN. So my intention is to fly out of it out of that heading 270, since we need to fly a heading of 273. That way I don't need to completely circle back. East. An aircraft coming in there. I don't know if you can see him on YouTube yet. It's right there. The windsock looks null. Not like it's doing anything. So we will hold short of the runway until he lands. I'm going to extend my flaps and have them ready for takeoff. Nice American Airlines. There's a helicopter over there. We're seeing all sorts of traffic this morning. And he must have done a touch and go because he's gone. So I'm going to test my brakes. And take off. We aren't doing real time, but we are doing real weather. I think I'll fly to about 3,000 feet. Engage the autopilot and get us at a good climb rate. And that'll get us going to our heading 273, which we essentially are right from takeoff. So with the Snack Air library, I've made a couple of changes. One, I did do away with the dials that had the carbon fiber over them. You know, even the trim for the dial had carbon fiber. Then the dial itself had carbon fiber, and that was just too much carbon fiber for me. I do like the carbon fiber. I don't want to give the impression whatsoever that I don't like it at all. I do like carbon fiber. I just thought there was too much carbon fiber. Now the wing struts, they also have carbon fiber, and the struts for the wheel The wheels on the aircraft have carbon fiber. Everything on this aircraft almost has carbon fiber, except for everything you see that's white. And of course the seats and the rug in the interior, they are not carbon fiber. We do have some green trim on the seats, and the seat belts are green, and I really like the green. Green is one of my favorite colors. As you can see, if we look at the tail section of the aircraft here, we've got carbon fiber green paint on the tail section. Now I changed the wing struts from the black carbon fiber to green because I thought that would be better fitting for this particular livery. And as I can see right here, I need to do some touch up because I see a little black on that thing, that joist or joint there that joins the strut to the wing. It's got a little black on it, so I need to fix that. But I also changed the wheels. The struts for the wheels were black as well. I made them green, and I think that looks better with this aircraft as well. So all of this paint, this green paint, is carbon fiber. But as far as I know, the white is just the default white color. I think the green struts look better than the black. There's an oil rig down there. I need to watch my altitude. I might be above 3,000. Okay, we're not quite there yet. We've not gotten picked up on VOR1 yet. We are getting closer. Alright, initiating an altitude hold, and then I'll be watching the RPMs and backing them down to about 2,500 as the speed and the RPMs pick up. A little hazy out here this morning. I can't see much at 3,000 feet. Foggy. So while we're flying, we've got what, 60 some miles to go. 63.5. We've not been established on VOR1 yet. I do want to do a landing at an RNAV landing at San Clemente Island. So I'm going to go ahead and program that as we fly. Do clear on that flight plan. I'm going to do a direct to. San Clemente Island. We'll activate that. Now we're not going to fly GPS to San Clemente. I'm going to rely on my bearing right now, and I'm going to rely on VOR1 to get there once it picks up. After that, I'm going to go ahead and do my approach. I'm going to select the runway 24 for the GPS, and I'm going to select the JOR initial airfix there. and I'm just going to load it. So I'm going to have it in there. You know, the magenta line is there, but we're not following that line. We're following our bearing. And we might be, you know, depending on the winds, we might be drifting off a little bit to the, you know, a little bit off to this bearing here between west and, or 270 and 300. We might be drifting off that way. So, you know, I'll be needing to pay attention to that. But as we get closer, if it doesn't pick up on VOR1 for some reason, if the waypoint is no longer in service, then I'll just initiate the approach once I notice that our distance is much closer on the G530 down here. So that's the plan. But we can't see the water for the fog. I'm not too concerned right now that we haven't picked up the 117.6 waypoint yet, because we're not within the distance of 50 nautical miles. But if after 50 miles and below that we don't pick it up, I'll be assuming it's out of service. Since we're at sea and there's nothing to hit, I think I will descend to 2,000 feet. And hope that being at 2,000 feet and closer to the water, there will be less haze. Now that might not be the case, but I would like to try it and see. Having been in San Diego or lived there, I've been in the naval shipyard at night, you know, when it went from clear to fog setting in, and that was the most interesting thing to me at the time. You might be able to look out over the shipyard and see several ships down the way. 30 minutes later, you can't see the ship that's right in front of you for the dense fog. Alright, we are closing in on 2,000 feet. I'll get ready to do an altitude hold. Altitude hold for 2,000, and I'll watch the RPMs as the plane levels off. Keep it at 2,500. Alright. Distance-wise, we're 51.4 nautical miles away from the island. So, I'm still expecting VOR1 to pick up, but when we were flying to San Diego, my last waypoint was North Island, which was, North Island is the base, you know, the military base. the naval base over there in San Diego. And that particular waypoint did not work. And because I'm unable to program ATIS because of those naval com codes that begin with a 2, I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to be able to use the VOR at all to get there. It might not be available to me in X-Plane to use. So I might just have to rely on the GPS. I'll give it a couple more miles. I'll give it up to 40 nautical mile distance from the island, and then I'll go ahead and initiate the approach on the G530. I'm still not able to see much of what's down there. We're just out over the ocean, but it looks like we're just in the midst of a lot of fog. Not super dense fog, but enough to not be able to see much of anything. I would think if the skies were to clear up, it is between 7 and 7:30 right now within the game. It's more along the lines of 2 or 3 a.m. actually right now in San Diego in real life. But I would think if the skies, the sun comes up a little bit more as we're traveling. It's roughly a 40-minute flight from San Diego to San Clemente Island at the speed we're going. So I would think with the sun coming up, if any of the fog clears up, we would be able to see the island from the air. So while we're flying and waiting to get picked up on VOR1, as I mentioned, I changed the color from black to green for the wing struts and for the landing struts, and then I got rid of the carbon fiber for the dials. That's just what I've done with the Snack Air library to make me appreciate it just a little bit more and want to use it more. Otherwise, I'd be flying the default library right now. But I am working on my own library. I'm having to learn some things that I didn't know before, so it's a little bit of slow going in that regard, but I am learning how to do it. So I've been able to change the, I can reproduce the gray, and I can reproduce green trim, I can reproduce green seatbelts. I could make them any color I wanted, actually. But I can get the gray cabin. I can turn it from gray now from beige to gray. And then I know how to do the trim. The carpet trim is another story. I don't know how to do that yet unless I have to. I have an idea of how I can do it, but I don't know of an easy way to do it yet. I do know how to change or darken the default panel for the Cessna. I don't know how to do the carbon fiber. I have an idea of how I could go about carbon fiber look if I wanted to, but I wouldn't really do a carbon fiber back panel for my own library. I would just do a darker panel, or closer to black, or really dark gray. So I'm very close to being able to achieve those things. But as far as the outside of the aircraft goes, I haven't come up with any particular paint scheme or anything like that, or design that I would like to do yet. So that, I think what I would do for my own library is get the inside of the aircraft the way that I would like it, and then use the default all white aircraft, and put some sort of design on it that I like. Now I do like the design of this. I do like the green and the carbon fiber. I actually love it. It's very nice to look at, this aircraft. But if I want my own livery, I've got to come up with my own design scheme. And I don't know what that will be yet, so that will take some time. So I was also thinking of, meanwhile, while making my own livery, I was thinking of potentially, it looks like a piece there that's black that I could make green if I wanted to. But I was thinking of messing with the colors. Like I could turn this green carbon fiber to a candy apple red carbon fiber, or a nice bright blue carbon fiber. Or I mean, make it orange. Orange is the color that I favor, but blue and red is kind of neat, and I think it would be nice to have an alternative scheme that looks exactly like this, only it's just different colors. So I might mess with that a little bit. The light housing here, it was black carbon fiber. I changed it to green carbon fiber as well, so it looks more meshed and like it was just meant to be that way. Before it kind of looked like it was not, and that's probably how it would look in real life anyways, to have the black around it. And I could set it back to black if I wanted to, but I kind of like the way it looks like that. For the time being, I'm going to leave that. Yeah, so we are 37 nautical miles away from VOR1, and we have not picked up on it yet. Now here, this is probably San Clemente Island here, and we're flying to just one end of the island where the runway is. So at this point, because we have not picked up anything on VOR1, I'm going to go ahead and initiate the approach and start flying a course towards that. So now that this is done, this is set up, what I need to do is switch to GPS here and go down here and click nav and GPS. So I click nav twice for that. Now we'll follow that course directly to runway 24, and then I will wait and see if whether or not the glide slope initiates itself, or whether or not I need to hit Alt again for the glide slope, and I'll try to intercept that and do the RNAV landing as I should. Now I already have things pre-programmed. This is 273 degrees, and this heading bug is programmed 273 degrees. We should be mostly matched up with magnetic north if we're not directly on it, but I can pay closer attention to that and how well tuned in we are to magnetic north once we get to where we're intercepting the runway. So according to G530, we have 25 nautical miles to our first waypoint to the hold. And then after the hold is Pumpy, which is another 6 miles. And then directly to runway 24. So let's have a look at San Clemente from outside. Not much to see. You can see just a little rise, like everything's flat except for that eye. So, if y'all haven't already, please subscribe. And then let me know what you think of this, the green that I did for the struts, for the wheel struts, and for the wing struts. And whether or not you prefer the carbon fiber instruments and dials, or the trim for the instruments and the actual instruments themselves. Let me know what you think. What do you like for a library? What's your favorite library? We can see some of the water now, so some of the fog's clearing up. Don't see any ships. Yesterday afternoon, I was messing around with these screws just to see if I could turn them green. I was able to do that, and I was able to turn these red knobs green and the buttons green. It's a bit much green, so I didn't bother to show that this morning. But I've just been playing with the different things to see what all I can do and adjust, and it's fun to do. It takes a long time. I mean, you can change the color of, say, the carpet and the upholstery, the doors, the inside of the aircraft. You can change that color and have that done within just a few minutes. There's just other things, and you know, due to the nature of having to teach myself how to do the things, that's what takes some time. But once I actually know how to do it, the act of actually doing it it doesn't take that long. Looks like another island or something over here. I don't think that's joined to San Clemente. And then it looks like there might even be a third island over here. I'll have to look at, and then I'm seeing, and that's probably mainland out there that I'm seeing, but it's definitely not the horizon. See land. So the fog is definitely clearing up. So since the VOR is not working, oh, it is working. Look at that. At some point we did pick up on it. Now we're actually flying the approach right now. Oh, that's why it's not working. It's because I switched. So we are not picked up on VOR1. It's because I clicked this button, which changes this to follow our GPS course. It's getting all excited there for nothing. But yeah, so what I was trying to say before I cut myself off was that because VOR1 does not work, because I cannot program ATIS into the radio stack and get ATIS information for San Clemente, because it's a naval, a military, you know, the island is owned and operated by the military for several different purposes, and I think, is it Coast Guard or something? There's in any case, I'm wondering whether or not the RNAV landing will work. So I think I know what to do. I mean, I have everything set. You know, like I said, I have the heading indicator set, and that was my mistake before, that the step that I was overlooking. The OR is set accordingly. The G530 is set the way that it should be. We're mostly matched up with magnetic north, if not perfectly. And the only other thing is the autopilot that I can think of, or that I'm aware of right now, unless I'm skipping something. But I've already set the nav to follow the GPS, and I only need to watch to make sure that the altitude either picks up or that I initiate it pick up the glide slope or glide path when we get to it. So hopefully I haven't left anything out, but I will be thinking about this in the back of my head. What am I forgetting? So it'll be good practice, but it will also be interesting to see if it actually works, since I can't get ATIS or the VOR to work. There is another VOR on the island as I look at Sky Vector. It looks like it's 113.9, so I think I'm going to program that in and just test and see if that VOR station shows up. I'm not going to fly to it, I just want to see if it's active, or if all military waypoints are potentially inactive in game. So 113.9. Alright, now I've got to switch back to nav GPS here. Now see, that's not picking up on that either, and we should be within range of that one as well. So yeah, it appears that the naval waypoints are inactive. Now I don't know if that's how it is in real life as well, but within game, that's how it appears. Now for some of the others, I think I've gotten some of the others to work, but I can't vouch for which ones worked. I have periodically just encountered some waypoints that don't work. But thus far, it seems that the military ones are the ones that work, that are least likely to work. Let's see if we can see. Oh yeah, we're getting reflections off the island now from the water. And I think for another video, for another flight, we'll actually fly around the island, have a look at it. But for this flight, because of the nature of how long it takes to actually get there, like we've been 37 minutes into the flight and we're only just now getting to the hold for our landing. We'll hold off, in order to keep the video short. We'll hold off flying around the island until next time. But I'm looking forward to it. Because I think, I don't know everything about the island, but I think the Navy still uses it for ship-to-shore target practice. But there are people that still live on that island. There's like 100, according to Wikipedia anyways, there are 140 some people that live on that island. It's still active, so I think the Air Force uses it, the Navy uses it, the Navy SEALs use it, for training exercises. There's like a $21 million city that they use for training, urban training. So that island is heavily used by the military. And it's just off the coast of San Diego, California. There's some other islands around there too, but I don't know much about them. I just did a little reading on San Clemente, and I was going to hold off saying anything about it until we actually flew around it. But, well, I just blew that. But it would be cool to visit this island and actually see some of the Navy SEALs training. Navy SEALs are rather intriguing. And that's one of the other islands there, most definitely. And that does look like a third island, unless it's attached, and then it just kind of flattens out and then heightens again. I don't know what the name of that island is yet. I'll have to look it up. Alright, so we're just about to the hold before our second waypoint, Pumpy. And then after Pumpy, we're going directly to the runway. So once we straighten out of the hold and start heading back towards the island and the runway, I'll start slowing the plane down to about 100 knots. Yeah, if we're not matched up with magnetic north, we might be off by a degree or half a degree, but it's not enough for me to be overly concerned with at this point. It looks pretty good. I'm just saying worst case scenario is not more than a half or 1 degree. And by the look of it, probably just half a degree if anything. I didn't showcase it or anything, but for anybody who's been watching any of my other videos, I flew around with another livery that kind of had biohazard stickers on it. It was mostly a grayish aircraft with some green on it, and biohazard stickers were black. I changed the biohazard stickers to green, and did some other modifications with that aircraft that made me like it a little bit more. But I didn't like all the gray on the aircraft for that one. I like the white, the default white colors. But this looks nice. I mean, green is my favorite color, and I do like carbon fiber. I just didn't like it all over the panel. That was my complaint. And I know how to get rid of the carbon fiber on the panel as well. So if I don't want that, I can just have a dark panel. But it doesn't look too bad. But on the dials and the instruments, it was too much. Alright, so we're turning back towards the runway. We're 5 miles from the Jura waypoint, or from Pumpy. 5 miles from Pumpy. That's where we're headed right now, I believe. Yeah. So from Pumpy, I don't know what our initial airfix is, which one I would be needing to watch to pick up the glide slope, but I'm assuming Pumpy because it's the one right before runway 24. So around the time we get to Pumpy, I'll be watching to make sure that we actually intercept the glide slope, and if we don't, I'm also going to be looking at VOR1 to see when the glide slope shows up on, or glide path, when it shows up on here. And if it doesn't automatically, initiate on the autopilot, I'll click the altitude button. Alright, for now I'm going to back the speed down to about 100 knots. Just going to start by adjusting the RPMs until it gets down to about 100. I don't know exactly where to set my throttle to make it 100, so I've got to eyeball it and adjust the throttle accordingly. Still have a ground speed of about 115 knots, but I'm more interested in the speed on the dial as opposed to the ground speed. So it's looking good right now. I'm going to give it a little more power to not go below where it's at. We're 0.5 miles from Pumpy. I do not have a visual on the runway. No. Okay. Now we're heading to the runway. Now we're heading... Okay, I'm just confused. Alright, we are not at Pumpy yet. We're 5.8 miles from Pumpy by the look of it. Okay, we do have the glide slope showing up here. I'm going to wait until it's almost aligned, and then I'll click the altitude button for the glide slope if it doesn't auto initiate. Once I have the glide path, I'll start deploying some flaps. Right now I'm going to maintain my speed of 100 knots. I'm going to use my binoculars and see if I can spot the runway. There it is. We're not perfectly lined up with it, but we're heading straight to it for the most part. I'm going to give it some flaps. I'll extend first stage. Alright, the glide path is starting to, we're inching our way closer to it. Doing the flaps and having it nose up will help me intercept it a little bit better. And I'll keep 2200 knots, 2200 RPMs. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and click the button for the glide. Now I need to approach. Alright, it looks like we're descending, so that's good. I'm going to give it some flaps. Now we're not lined up, so you know what? I do have this wrong. We need to be at 2.4. See, that's me making my mistakes. And I do make mistakes. Get ahead of myself sometimes, overlook something, or thinking about something else. Now that we have that heading bug set correctly, we should be guided in properly. We do have the glide path, so all we need to do is re-intercept the heading of 240. And we're turning in now. I've got full flaps extended, so I'm going to decrease my speed to about 60 knots. Yeah, I guess I thought I was landing at San Diego. A heading bug at 270. You gotta laugh at yourself sometimes. But since I know what it takes now to make an RNAV landing work with the G530, I know what to look for when I make a mistake. I can look and say, hey, did I make a mistake? And then That's what I did. I'm like, yeah, why am I thinking 270 when it's obviously 240 for that runway? The reason I knew it was 240 is because I looked it up on SkyVector before I started this video. Now the graphic here, the water and the land is not meshed properly, so it looks bad. It looks like a triangular piece. The water's not moving. Everything else, the reflections, whatnot, look okay. But that piece right there just looks wrong. Alright, I'm going to turn the autopilot off and I'm going to guide us in the rest of the way. But if there had been a dense fog there, we could have used that RNAV to guide us right to this runway till we could actually see it, then disengage the autopilot and land. And that's the great thing about instrument approaches. And I'm thinking of doing a video sometime with nearly zero visibility and just flying that and showing you how important it is to be able to do instrument landings and know what you're doing, as if I know what I'm doing. Now I'm getting to where I know, at least with the G530, I can definitely do it with the G1000. It was the G530 that I've been struggling with, so that's why I've been practicing with it. Alright, I'm pulling back on the power sun. I'm going to nose up and just try to put her down. There we are. I had to give her some power at the last minute because I didn't want to drop it in. I didn't want the landing gear to bang. Now I need to look for an exit off of this runway. I could go over the dirt, but retracting the flaps. Is there somewhere to turn off? Some runways like this, they're at the very end. And for all I know, I need to turn around and go back. So I'm going to click on SkyVector real quick and look at the runway, San Clemente. The airport diagram, and then try not to, yeah, at the very ends of the runways. Alright, here's the turn off. That car just disappeared. lights right there in the middle of the runway. I would have hit them. I'm being poking out like that. Taxied right over them. And that's probably unrealistic. They're probably not there like that. Unless that's where the helicopters are supposed to land. Go park next to this guy. Killing the engines. Alright, let's do a replay. That was a long taxi, so alright. I'm going to skip a little bit of this taxi. Alright, YouTube, y'all have a good day and thank you for watching.